let's bring on our guy, our MMA expert and American. It is UFC 237, and I hope that I have a front row seat for the bounce back. Last week's UFC got us right in the drink hole, Clint, and I believe in you. And our cappers in the chat believe in you. Can't wait to hear your breakdown of this event. First off, joining us from Phoenix, Arizona on this Friday morning. How are you doing today?
Jimmy, I am hungry. I'm pissed off. I hate last week. Every other capper that does baseball, basketball, all that stuff, hockey, you guys get to have a bad night and rinse that taste out of your mouth the very next day. I've been sitting here stewing all week. I've done the walk of shame all week. I'm still wearing the same tattered dress that got me in trouble last Saturday. Every single time. So let me tell you, I should change my name because I am Donald Cerrone's side piece. I am Donald Cerrone's bottom bitch because every single time that man comes to town, I get fucked.
That's a funny... It did hit us right in the wallet, but that was very humorous. And let me tell you, Clint, that tattered dress really makes your pussy pop. I think you're going to have a giant week and a giant night. Let's get right to it. I'm bringing up the UFC odds here at sportsbookreview.com, and we got some bangers on this. So first off, tell me a little bit about the setting. We're in Rio de Janeiro. How does that play into your capping breakdown?
So Rio is a huge spot for the UFC. I mean, MMA arguably originated in Brazil. I mean, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has really put mixed martial arts on the map way back in the day with Royce Gracie and stuff like that. So it's got a real rich history in Brazil. It's always special when they go there. And we've got legends on this card top to bottom, guys that we've seen since the very beginning. And one thing that Brazil is known for, it's a lot like Russia was when we talked about that. There's some serious home cooking. Some of these Brazilian fighters, they get some questionable calls. They get the edge. The Brazilian fans are insane. They chant, "You're going to die," against the people who are facing Brazilian competition. So it's a tall order to go into Brazil and win. And because of that, I always take a little bit of extra. I lean a little bit further over to the Brazilian fighters whenever I cap these.
Wow, I'm excited. I'm excited to hear your bounce back spot. The last time you had a bad... So I believe you've only had 2 bad weeks in this year. And the last time you had a bad week, I knew you were going to bounce back, and that's when I started tailing. That was the first time I started tailing. So let's get right back to the glory. The first fight you want to talk about, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing these names right, because I don't know Thiago Moises that well, but is it Kurt Holobaugh versus Thiago Moises? And Kurt Holobaugh opening at plus 135, a big move towards Kurt. We're now at plus 100, a 35-cent move towards Kurt. Break this down for me.
Well, you absolutely nailed the pronunciation as far as I'm aware, but we are going to be on that line move. If you guys follow me on Twitter, this is where it comes in handy to be a follower of mine on Twitter. I tweeted that play out when he was plus 130. So we got ahead of that line move, and we're going to be on Kurt Holobaugh this week. So both these guys are young up-and-comers. Neither of them have had a very long stint in the UFC, and Kurt Holobaugh is 0-2. So we're getting a nice juicy line on him when he should theoretically be the favorite here because of the 2 guys that he fought. He fought some absolute monsters that are either undefeated or they have maybe 1 loss on their record, and he looked very good against them. In his last fight, he actually clipped the guy, dropped him in the first round, was making him look stupid on the feet, and then got excited to rush in there and get his first UFC win, and a Hail Mary armbar caught him, and he had to tap out. So he was in complete control of that fight up until he slipped up and just got a little too excited, and that's a young guy mistake. Big bright lights, you're in the UFC finally, and you just want to get that TKO. I mean, I can't really blame him for rushing in for that one. His opponent, Thiago Moises, is in a very similar situation where he hasn't really fought much of anybody either. He came in and faced Beneil Dariush in his UFC debut, and he got ground out. He put up absolutely no fight whatsoever. Well, our boy Holobaugh, he's a world champion blue and purple belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. So even though you're like, he's not a brown belt, he's not a black belt, but he is a world-class purple belt. That puts him a notch above what you would expect for a purple belt. So when you've got 2 young up-and-coming fighters like this, I think Kurt keeps it on the feet. He's a pressure fighter. He puts together 4, 5, 6 punch combos. He's just going to overwhelm Moises. I think he TKOs him in round 2.
Yeah. Mr. Fatfist saying slight lean to Kurt because of the line. Both guys have not won in the UFC yet. People backing this spot. Murphy Jr. saying Holobaugh is a good dog. People backing this. I like it. All right, let's keep rolling. Next up, Ryan Spann versus Antonio Rogerio Nogueira. Nogueira opening up at plus 150, being a huge move towards Nogueira, now plus 115. Wow. Break this down for me. Who you like?
This is another one where we're taking the dog, Jimmy. I mean, I know we took it right in the drink hole last week, but my strategy has been soundproof. We're up over 30 units in 2019 because I picked these spots where there are live dogs. Sometimes variance is a bitch in MMA, but I'm not getting away from it. This is my strategy. This is how I play the game, and it's always worked. We're going to bounce back because of this. So we're going to take the dog money on Little Nog, Antonio Rogerio Nogueira. He's over 40 years old, and I don't normally like betting fighters that are over 40 years old, but Ryan Spann is not a spring chicken himself. He was not a very good MMA fighter, and he got it focused up and put it together late in his career. He's on a good run right now, 4 or 5 fights, but he's chinny. He has a problem with leaving that chin open. He's going to have the height advantage. He'll have the reach advantage, but he leaves himself wide open to get hit. The other thing he likes to do is jump guillotines. So he's going to jump on top of Nog, who is a legendary black belt. That's just a bad idea. You do not want to be on your back with Little Nogueira on top of you raining down bombs. Nog's punching and boxing is something that's always been the staple of his strategy in MMA. And when you're an aging fighter, the last thing to go is your power. So if Nog connects just one time, that's all we need, and Ryan Spann is going down. I think Nog catches him over the course of a 15-round fight, and I think the only way that Ryan Spann can fight is by kind of staying on the outside and peppering him with kicks, and that's not going to get it done. Nog's never shown that he's been chinny. The only people that have beat him are massive power punchers like Anthony Rumble Johnson or high-caliber wrestlers like Ryan Bader, who's currently the light heavyweight and heavyweight champion over in Bellator. Ryan Spann's neither of those. I just don't think he has the skills that it takes to beat Nog, even though Nog is old.
Fight Analyst is on the other side, says Ryan Spann wins round 1. Murphy Jr. with you says Nog by KO. Spann is chinny. Mr. Fatfist says, I'm on Spann. Nogueira has been a jobber for a while now. Again, Fight Analyst says, I can't see Nog winning this fight. Very, very exciting. Very, very exciting. Okay, let's keep rolling. Next one, we have a pick'em. We're at a pick'em with Laureano Stropoli versus Thiago Alves. It's a pick'em on almost every single book out there. A Bet Online giving a little minus 115 to Stropoli. But other than that, it's a pick'em. Who do you like here?
So just a quick comment on that last fight with Nog being a jobber. He's only lost to top 5 and top 10 opposition in the UFC. Every single time they give him somebody outside of the top 10, he KOs them. So you might think he's a jobber based on the fact that he's he doesn't fight that often in the UFC. But when he does, if he's not facing top 10 opposition, he wins. So if you think Ryan Spann's in the top 10, that's fine. I'm not going to hold that against you. But he better be if he's going to come out and beat Nog. Anyway, moving on. We're going on to Thiago Alves. We're going to be on my boy Alves. We got him by decision plus 300 a couple months ago, if you guys remember that one. That was a Brazilian robbery. And the reason that we bet him on the prop by decision was because he was fighting in Brazil. It was a very close fight, and that's exactly what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. He's going to get the edge. If this is a close fight, Thiago Alves is going to win. So Stropoli, I've got some thoughts on this kid. He's 9-1, and it might be the most padded record I've ever seen inside the UFC. So let me just break this down for you. His first UFC opponent, Hector Aldana, is 4-2 now after dropping that fight to Stropoli, and he's 0-2 in the UFC. Before that, to get in the UFC, he beat a guy that's 6-5, who's now 6-6. Before that, he fought a 1-0 fighter. Before that, he fought a 1-1 fighter. Before that, he fought a 1-0 and an 0-0 fighter. And that guy has 0-2 on his record, with both of those losses coming to Stropoli. He's fought nobody. Now, Thiago Alves might be getting a little bit older, but he still has some phenomenal Muay Thai technique. And this kid is taking a massive step up in competition. He's not going from young, hungry lions to his UFC debut, taking on an aging veteran. He's going from nobody to a world-class UFC veteran. And we're getting it at a pick'em price in Alves' hometown where the judges are going to be far more on his side. Oh, yeah, Alves all day.
Alves all day. Beautiful. Murphy Jr., though, saying, Stropoli, I love it, these odds. Only risk is he gets robbed. I like it. So we got Alves. Let's keep rolling. Next up, we got Alexander Volkanovski versus Jose Aldo. Aldo opens as a minus 145 favorite. And bet down. Money coming in on Volkanovski. We have a 14-cent move towards Volkanovski. Who do you like here?
Now, this is one where I'm actually going to go with the favorite. Volkanovski is a very live dog, and I know a lot of sharp people that are on him. However, we're getting a very nice price on Jose Aldo now that that line's been bet down the way that it is. I think we got to take the favorite here. So Volkanovski is 19-1. The dude's legit, but he hasn't really fought anybody in the UFC either. The fight that he had last time that got him into this spot was against Chad Mendes. Volkanovski is essentially Chad Mendes 2.0. The way he fights is very, very similar to the way that Chad did. Chad was coming off of a performance-enhancing drug suspension and has since retired. That's not the same Chad Mendes that we've seen in the past. That was an old, broken, retired, and done Chad Mendes. So we've got to put a little bit of a question mark next to that victory. Jose Aldo, on the other hand, is on his revenge tour here in 2019. After dropping back-to-back losses to Max Holloway, he's crushed his last two opponents, showing us exactly why he got to the title and held it for so long in the first place. Everyone wrote him off, thought he was done, myself included, and he came back and shut me the hell up. So let's take a look at Jose Aldo's losses. The only two men in the UFC that have beaten Jose Aldo are Conor McGregor and Max Holloway. Two guys that are on the short list for the pound-for-pound best fighters in the world. And I think that Max Holloway is a paper, rock, scissors bad matchup for Jose Aldo. I don't think Jose Aldo will ever beat Max Holloway, to be truthful. Conor McGregor, on the other hand, that was a 13-second KO. You can say whatever you want about that. You can call it dominant, but that's a flash knockout. And Jose Aldo was heated and more emotional than we have ever seen him in the octagon leading up to that fight. I would love to see a rematch of that because I guarantee it doesn't go the same way the second time around, and it's probably a lot more competitive. So I've got a question mark next to that loss as well. Do we say that Volkanovski is on the level of Conor McGregor and Max Holloway? I don't think so. He's good. He's a pressure fighter, but he fights a lot like Chad Mendes and Frankie Edgar. Jose Aldo beat both Chad Mendes and Frankie Edgar twice apiece, and he beat them like a drum. This is a 3-round fight. It's not a 5-round main event. So Jose Aldo's not going to gas out in rounds 4 and 5 like we've seen him do before because the fight's not going to go that long. I think he's able to keep this fight on the feet. He will play the matador. He won't slow down like Chad Mendes did in the second round against Volkanovski, and he is in phenomenal shape. I tweeted out a picture of him right now. Sorry, not right now. Earlier this week, I tweeted a picture out of Jose Aldo. The dude is jacked like I've never seen before. He is ready to go. The King of Rio is back, and I'm on Jose Aldo.
Animarak on Jose Aldo. Murphy Jr. saying, I'm on Vulcan KO prop, but the value may well be on Aldo now. Mr. Fatfist says all over Aldo, but the fight analyst says Volkanovski at plus 115. Says Aldo's absorbed 8.6 strikes per minute in the last 2 wins. Wow, very, very exciting. Mr. Fatfist saying Jose's been looking unbelievable. And the fight analyst says Aldo has to get a finish early for him to win. Aldo fades as the fight goes on. All right, next up, Anderson Silva. Back in the octagon, opening at plus 135, and that has gone down. Money coming in on Anderson Silva now at plus 110. Are you backing Anderson Silva here?
I am backing Anderson Silva. We're going to get dog money on the GOAT, the greatest to ever play the game. And they are setting this one up. People are scared to death of this Jared Cannonier dude, and I've been watching him. He's not going to be able to do to Anderson Silva what he's done to some of his other opponents. And let's actually take a look at his record. He's 4-1 in his last 5. He started at heavyweight, got his ass in shape, went down to 205, realized, hey, I'm still too small for this division, and has dropped down to 185. His last win was against David Branch. And I want to say we were on that fight. I want to say we bet Cannonier on that fight. And David Branch is not the David Branch that we used to see. He was an absolute monster, and I was excited about that guy getting into the UFC finally. But these days, he's got one round in him. If he doesn't finish the fight in one round, he goes belly up and quits. So he was all over Cannonier in round one, and then he came out for round two looking like a ghost, and Cannonier put it on him and got the TKO. Anderson Silva just went a full 3 rounds with the current interim champion, Israel Adesanya. He's still got it. He's still got the striking. He's still got the movement. He's still in decent shape. And he hasn't been touched up in his last couple fights by power punchers. So his chin is still intact. And if you think that this 35-year-old Cannonier is going to pick up MMA in the last couple of years and step in and be ready to strike with a guy like Anderson Silva, I got another thing for you. Silva is light years above this guy when it comes to the striking game. And Cannonier is not going to have the wrestling to be able to take a guy like Silva down. He's been defending the takedown, using his footwork to get away from guys like that his entire career. This is going to be a standing match. And a lot like the Thiago Alves spot, if this thing goes to decision, guess who's going to win? Anderson Silva's in his home country. There's no way he loses a decision here. I think he's going to be able to play the matador, stay on the outside. The crowd will roar every time he hits a leg kick. And Cannonier is not going to be able to connect with his chin because it's just too hard to hit Anderson Silva unless he's goofing off and sticks it out there for you like he did with Chris Weidman. We're all over the dog here. Let's roll with the Brazilians. Team Brazil, baby.
Everybody with you at first. So Fight Analyst says, great bet with Silva plus money. Joe Anisi says, I agree. Cannonier ain't that good. Mr. Fatfish says, I got him at plus 125, meaning Silva. And then Swiatek says, huge early move against Silva. Says, I'm no UFC capper, but I would never go against that big of a huge support for the other side. How do you feel about that?
Well, when it comes to MMA capping, the lines, they swing like crazy. It's not like a bunch of the other sports. People see what they want to see when it comes to MMA, and just because there's a big move doesn't necessarily mean they're correct. If you remember my play on Roxanne Modafferi at plus 300, money was pouring in against her from start to finish, and she was the rightful favorite. They lined that fight incorrectly. Cannonier has got the hype train behind him. Silva is old, and Cannonier's got power. They think he's going to be able to knock out an aging veteran. And I just think they're not taking into account the level of striking that Anderson Silva possesses and the level of takedown defense either. Everybody tries to get all over Cannonier and take him to the ground because they're scared he's going to hit them. Anderson Silva's going to stand with him and just stay out of the way. I think it's going to be close. I think it'll go to decision, and Anderson Silva might actually be able to put this guy away if he keeps it on him for the first 2 rounds. I could see a round 3 late TKO just because of his pinpoint accuracy. He hasn't slowed down that much.
Love these breakdowns. This is so exciting. Finally, we come to the big, big fight. A thug named Rose as a dog. Open at plus 120. Money comes in on Rose, plus 105. I can't wait to hear you break this down. And I hope that you're backing River Phoenix on this one.
I'm sorry, I can't get over the River Phoenix thing. So this fight, I think it's going to be pick 'em at fight time. I think you're going to see that line go up and down. It's going to bounce back and forth. This is really close. I know sharp people on both sides of this fight. I am going to be on a thug named Rose. You do not make the champion the underdog. It's just not something you do. She took Joanna Jędrzejczyk back-to-back fights to solidify that she's the best fighter in that division. The first time they fought, so first off, let me just say, Joanna is no joke. She was the reigning queen in that weight class, and no one had been able to hold a candle to her, including the challenger in this particular fight. She's got a big L on her record thanks to Joanna. So Joanna comes into that fight against Rose, and Rose crushes her in the first round, shuts her lights off. Joanna comes back pissed off and says it was a fluke, it won't happen again. They go the full 5 rounds, and Rose outclasses this woman on the feet. And she is world class. To be able to do that, that shows massive levels of improvement for Rose. Rose is a young girl. She's still improving. She's still learning and putting her game together. So she's going to come in here against Andrade, and we haven't seen her in about a year. That makes her dangerous. Who knows what she's been working on and doing that whole time? Knowing that she was going to fight Andrade, I'll bet you she's been working on her takedown defense, her escapes, and her stand-ups. And if you give a girl that improves at that rate that much time, I'll bet you she's going to be able to perform very well under these types of circumstances. Now, Andrade, she's a grappler and a power puncher. I don't think she's going to be able to hit Rose. It'll be like the Joanna fight, where she's going to come in marauding, taking big shots, swinging hard. And I think Rose is long, and she's going to have the reach advantage and the footwork advantage to be able to avoid the majority of the shots. Now, there's always that chance that she gets clipped. And if she does, Andrade has got some serious power. So she could end the night early for us. But I think Rose is going to be able to stick and move, get up, escape, scramble, and keep this thing alive until the later rounds. And if Andrade slows down even just a little bit, I think Rose will piece her up and either win a decision, or she might even be able to clip her, take her back, and choke her out.
Wow, absolutely wild, exciting breakdown. What a card we have here. What a card.
It's a good one.
Carlos Bro saying Rose may have to knock her out. If it goes to the judges, she's going to lose on decision. It says, don't you think there's a local bias? Murphy Jr. says, I can see Thug being too clever for Andrade. She also has very underrated power. Andrade leaves her chin in the air. Fight analyst says, Rose was 1-1 going that fight with JJ. Styles makes fights, and Rose was the perfect opponent for JJ. Andrade has been on a tear. Wow, incredibly exciting. Thank you so much for joining us, Animarak. Let's just quickly go over all of Animarak's action. Holobaugh plus 112. Lil Nog plus 125. Thiago Alves minus 107. Jose Aldo minus 129. Anderson Silva plus 132. And a thug named Rose at plus 109. Animarak, thank you so much for joining us. We've gone a little bit long, so we've got to shut this bad boy down, put a bow on it. Where can we find you on Twitter? Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
At Die Hard MMA Podcast. I break this whole thing down. Give me a follow on Twitter. If there's ever a good line that I'm liking, I'll tweet it out early so we make these big line movements pay. This week, I'm rocking my alma mater, TNT Mixed Martial Arts, where I got my blue belt. So shout out to my coach, Scott Tenenbaum. Thank you for having me. Best of luck, Jimmy, and everybody in the chat. Let's kill it this week. Let's get that money back and get off the schneid.
Our guy, Animarak. Thank you to all the gappers in the chat. Thank you to everybody who watched this show. We're going to have a big afternoon. Looks like we're rolling in IIHF. Getting off to a nice start there. Animarak, while I got you, AN says, what was his favorite play? Do you have one play on this card you like the best?
Oh, that is a tough question on this card. So I would say that my favorite play is between Kurt Holobaugh and Thiago Alves. Those are probably my top two spots just because of the home bias with Alves and the step up in competition for his opponent. And then Holobaugh, I really think he's just the better of the two fighters and shouldn't be the underdog.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.